And we are on House Bill 104, presented by Representative Love, and I don't remember whether the last testimony was in favor or opposition. Opposition. Further testimony, any testimony for informational purposes on House Bill 104. Further testimony in favor of House Bill 104.
We need it. Where's the right?
Holy Toledo, sorry. The restaurant association.
Oh, there.
Yeah, I gotta do this too. This is just crazy. Budget majority.
Mr. Chairman, Mayor, thank you for the opportunity.
Go ahead.
I'm Mark Collins, I'm Commissioner of Cedar County. Rural county, and we are agricultural based. We have a real property limit on the taxes that we can collect. We have a low population. We have no Walmarts. We have a very limited sales tax base to collect. So budget with us and money with us is a very, very tight and important thing. $10,000 is a lot of money in my county. We have 62 MoDOT inspected bridges. These bridges are 20 feet in length or longer. MoDOT inspects them, judges their condition, and sets the weight limits on them. Of those 62 bridges, 30 of those bridges, a school bus cannot cross. These are weight limits that are running from 3-ton to 10-ton limits. School bus will not cross a 10-ton limit. What bridge? My only alternative is to try to figure out how to create more revenues to build more bridges. We have BRO funds that come in. BRO funded bridges are much more over constructed bridges than what I need on gravel roads. The last bridge we built 4 years ago was 52 feet in length, cost $238,000, and it's suitable to set on 54 highway, and probably 5 cars crossing a day in one school bus. Another BRO project for $534,000. It took us 3 years to save the money for that, the BRO funds for that. Of course, we pay 20% of the cost.
And if you don't mind me interrupting,
yes,
we're asking what is a VRO?
BRO,
BRO.
Bridge Reconstruction Fund.
Okay.
These funds come from the federal government through the state to the county.
Thank you. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah. The wage laws will probably not affect these projects, but the projects that I could build, these 20 to 40 foot bridges that I could build for $80,000. I could hire private contractors to pour the head walls, the footings, and the wing walls, and our road bridge crew can set the decks. We can cut the cost dramatically by doing that. The problem there is the contractors in our county that are capable of pouring walls won't do a prevailing wage job. They don't want anything to do with prevailing wage. The effects, and I asked about why, and the effect was, when I take a person and I move him to $45 an hour, $50 an hour, he don't want to come back to work for me for $15 an hour. And it's a real problem. So I'm stuck with having to build the BRO bridges. And I can't afford to. And at the rate we're going with the decline in our infrastructure, it's a real problem for us. Based on my engineers' cost estimates, they figure 40% of labor, or 40% of the bridge cost for fixed build is labor. That 40% comes to $213,000. If 20%, say, and that's what the studies base prevailing wage cost increases on a 20% basis, that's $43,000 on that particular bridge.
I'll have to cut you off, but you go ahead and finish up the financial information there.
Well, again, that's the estimate, and if you look at what Warren gave you today, earlier, $42 an hour was the estimate on what the actual cost was at prevailing wage to re-roof a building. I venture to say it'd be much greater than that, and there are peripheral costs around that also. you're talking about bonding costs, you're talking about workman comp costs, you're talking about somebody tracking all these individual laborers who are hopping from job to job to job, equipment operators, the framers, the concrete pourer, and iron workers. That's what they do with these smaller bridge companies.
Thank you. Further questions of this witness? Senator Hom.
Thank you. So quite a few questions, actually. I'll try to be brief. So you were saying that they would have to pay them whatever the prevailing wage was somewhere around $44, $45 an hour.
It varies depending on the job.
Right. You used that example, so that's what I was asking. But you know what they're currently making now? What they're paying them?
Well, we haven't started the project yet.
Well, I mean, you talked to them about what the prevailing wage was that they have to pay those contractors. So since you know what the prevailing wage do you know what they're currently paying their employees?
I believe it was $44 an hour for the concrete work.
No, that's not what I was asking. You said that they didn't want to participate in the prevailing wage because they would have to pay their employees the prevailing wage rate, which is what you just said it was. So that means that they don't want to bring their employees, they don't want them to, shockingly, the employees don't want to make less when they go back. So what is the rate that they are currently paying on a non-prevailing wage job?
Honestly, I can't tell you.
So you only asked about what they would get paid, not what they're.
I asked about why they would not take the job.
Right. So do you know if those contractors are turning in their hours in your county? For what they are paying their employees?
We have solicited that and tried to get that so we could get the prevailing wage lowered.
Right.
They want nothing to do with the government sticking their nose in their business. That's just the way it
They
is.
just want taxpayer dollars.
No, they don't just want taxpayer dollars.
I'm confused then. I'm
government.
confused then. So the government, taxpayer dollars, they're funding the projects that they want to bid on. They don't want anything to do with it. They just want the job.
They do not want to get into the prevailing wage situation. Now, let me give
Because
you-
then their employees would find out what other people are making, right?
Let me give you an example of.
I asked you a question. I'm sorry. Did you want to answer that?
Say again, please.
Is it because they don't want their employees to know what these other people are making?
No, not at all.
That seemed to indicate what
No,
you said,
not at
that
all.
the employees didn't want to have to go back to the lower rate.
Okay,
And if they just turned in their hours, then it would lower the prevailing wage rate. So since you took the time to come up here, why can't you convince the contractors in your county to just do the right thing and turn in their hours?
that's not a fair question. These are human beings who have their own opinions. They do not want the government in their business.
They just want the money from the government.
They want the jobs to do. They don't care if it comes from the government. They don't care if it comes from an
Thank you. You
individual.
just answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Eigel.
Thank you for your testimony. Question, what do you estimate the savings would be for these bridge projects in the event that the prevailing wage law was?
Of course, every bridge has a different size, and the larger the bridge, the more it's going to be, obviously. On a bridge, and I'll take the one we're fixing to start, for example, $534,000. That does not include the engineering. That is just the building of the bridge. 40% of that, or 20, excuse me. Yeah, 40% of labor is $213,000 based on the engineers' opinion. If 20% of that is the cost difference between prevailing wage, the savings would be $43,000.
On that one project.
On
So
that
you're
one project.
estimating it could be 20 to 30% savings on
Yes,
the
sir.
bridge project?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the idea, as I understand it, behind the prevailing wage law is that that those wage levels are actually set to prevent folks that are really not qualified from a technical perspective to perform a certain job or a certain type of work for performing it in exchange for state dollars. Do you feel if the prevailing wage law was repealed, do you feel that you would suffer a drop in quality or technical expertise in these jobs, or are we talking about the same people?
Let me answer it this way. My son worked on the bridge crew, and they built a bridge over the Palmitar River, the Arnold project. He run a backhoe. He moved steel to the staging site, set the rebar. He set the rebar, tied the rebar. He built forms, poured concrete. He was a backhoe operator, he was an iron worker, he was a carpenter, he was a mason, and his wages changed every time he moved from spot to spot. He was the master of none, but he had oversight.
Okay, so he was doing all the same ones. So basically, if
Yes.
I'm understanding you correctly, is it correct to say that the prevailing wage law is artificially inflating what you're paying these employees just simply because of the government?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And there would be no reduction in technical expertise that would be showing up on your job site as a result of appeal.
No, sir. If you're gonna pour a bridge wall and you've poured walls for houses, a wall is a wall. It takes rebar, it takes an engineer design. Follow that design, put the proper rebar in it, pour it, vibrate it, and your wall's built.
But one last question, to speak specifically about the reporting system. We heard the Senate version of this bill a couple months ago, and we had a witness testify that the reason many companies are nervous about the reporting is because they have seen incidents, and granted it was anecdotal in the case of the witness, but he spoke to a more broader audience, which is why I'm going to ask you, that invited scrutiny from the government in the form of audits or inspections from a Department of Labor representative or some other state agency. Do you feel that is a concern from the folks that you know are working on these projects, and maybe a reason why they are not reporting in the system?
Absolutely. It's a number of different concerns about it. The other concern is they are responsible for logging all these hours. You get an employee that gets upset with you, mad at you because you made him do something he didn't want to do or whatever, and he claims, I was running a backhoe that day, he didn't pay me for it. All of a sudden, the doors are wide open, the lawsuit is wide open. It not only affects the employer, it can be brought into the county commission, the county clerk, the circuit clerk's office, the Department of Labor, everybody, and it might not be anything true at all, and that's a concern.
Thank you.
Senator Levin.
Okay, it's true also that you have to have inspectors, engineers,
Yes,
that
sir.
inspect the job anyway, so they're checking to make sure all the compaction's right. And
Yes, sir.
and the concrete's right, they're testing the asphalt and all that.
I have no
Is
asphalt.
that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you're talking about infrastructure here, so you're talking about something very near and dear to Senator Libelow's heart and all of ours. Senator Hummel, a question Senator Hummel asked you, triggered a thought on my part. What these bridges, these county bridges that you're building, what percentage is state funds, county funds, federal funds?
With the VRO, of course, it's
The
federal.
VRO is federal,
Is
right?
federal downstate.
So this bill wouldn't affect that because that's Davis-Bacon, right? It has its own prevailing wage laws.
That is correct, but I have the funds to build some smaller bridges privately.
Right,
I'm
okay.
capable of doing that.
And are those
Yeah,
county
Those
funds?
are county funds, so 100%.
100% county funds?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that was kind of the thought I had during Senator Hummel's line of inquiry. I don't know that he meant it this way, but the implication that it was, look, prevailing wage is a state mandate, even though these are county funds, even though these are 100% county funds you're dealing with in the cases of these smaller bridges.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Further questions, the witness, Senator Hummel.
Briefly, does your son work on both prevailing wage and non-prevailing wage work?
Not anymore. When they built that last bridge, he went on unemployment, and he stayed on unemployment until the unemployment ran out because he couldn't get a job that paid as much. And when he figured out he was going to have to do something else, he went to school, got an education, and he's
Always a smart bet.
Yes, yes, it is.
I have one more question. Did he make more money on a prevailing wage job?
Yes, he was making more money than
Do
he
you
is
think he
now.
put more money into the economy in your county than he did if he had not been working on a prevailing wage job?
Actually, he moved to Springfield, went to work for the Developmental Center of the Ozarks. He worked steadily, so he makes more money overall.
That wasn't the question. When he was working on both prevailing wage and non-prevailing wage work, did he put more money back into the economy when he was making prevailing wage scale?
Not my economy, he didn't. Okay, I've got a bridge crew coming out of California, Missouri. They're gonna take Cedar County's money. and
Did
they're
not
gonna
want to-
take
you didn't want to answer that
California,
one?
Missouri. So
You didn't want to answer that question?
I can't tell you how he spent his money.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yeah, I think, or another way of putting it is when your local contractors are turned off by the reporting requirements, and as I've sometimes heard it told, it sounds like sometimes the Missouri Department of Labor is the muscle for the labor unions, and some contractors want nothing to do with that. But even apart from that political aspect of it, it is a significant burden, clerical burden, and not every small contractor has the resources for the army of accountants to keep track of all that stuff. But then, so when small contractors don't end up bidding on these jobs, as you say, they come from another county and the money goes back to the other county. Those workers are being paid more, but the workers in your own county don't get work. Absolutely. Thank you for your testimony. And remember to fill out your witness form. Further testimony in opposition to House Bill 104.
I'm Leon Keller, I'm president and owner of Meyer Electric Company. Is this mic working? How's that? There we go. Thank you. I'll start. I'm Leon Keller, president and owner of Meyer Electric Company. We're located here in Jeff City. 74 years old, and I've been in the construction industry for 58 years. Today, I'm testifying in opposition, and I'm also representing the Builders Association of Missouri. This year, the Builders Association turns 130 years old as a commercial construction trade organization with over 800 company members, employing well over 20,000 tradespeople. Half of our memberships are non-union contractors and tradespeople, and half are union contractors. 50% of these members are located in Central and Springfield areas, of which we are one of them. Through the leadership and effort of private industry, we have created a system of training craft people that have served the economic development of this state for over a century. Contractors now pay millions of dollars for this training through a long-standing partnership with labor. Repeal of prevailing wage undermines workforce development programs. Prevailing wage funds apprenticeship programs that train the next generation of skilled workers. Apprentices graduate with a good paying job and no student debt. They are productive members of our society. Also, the prevailing wage provides a level playing field so that Missouri companies and workers can compete for projects. It ensures that private investment in employee training, healthcare, and retirement programs can be maintained for our employees. In contrast, repeal of the prevailing wage will open the door for out-of-state contractors to come with unqualified people, quite often with the illegal employees, and possibly even below minimum wage. Thus, somebody took my other paper. Well, anyway, thus we can't compete whenever it gets to that level. The other thing I wanted to touch on, we're from Central Missouri. Last year, we paid our employees, and we're only one of 800 contractors represented by the Builders Association, upwards into the $17, $18 million range of labor.
Go ahead and finish here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is in rural Missouri. We're all citizens and taxpayers of the state of Missouri. Got one more in closing. I'd like to say this. I would like to emphasize that there are hundreds of thousands of construction workers, I emphasize union and non-union, that reside in the state of Missouri. These are not faceless people in the crowd. These are your constituents, your neighbors. You see them at churches, local school activities, grocery stores, buying homes, cars, loading clothing for their families, paying taxes, and supporting their communities in the state of Missouri. These are the people whose livelihoods we're talking about today. I want to thank you all for your time.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller, you're Meyer Electric, do you do all your work in the state of Missouri, or do you work in other states?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Work in the state of Missouri.
Okay, thank you. Further questions of Mr. Keller? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Remember to fill out your witness form. Could I ask how many here are here to testify in favor of House Bill 104? And how many in opposition to House Bill 104? Okay, all right, thank you. Further testimony in support of House Bill 104.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Richard Sheets. I'm with the Missouri Municipal League and with the Flood record supporting House Bill 104. I've been working with local governments close to 40 years, and one of the major concerns of our city since I've been working with local governments and cities has been the prevailing wage. City officials have told me many times the concerns they've had was they're working on building a public works barn or doing some kind of construction. And next door, there's a private construction, and the rates paid to the employees in the public job is higher than right next door. So what's happening, the prevailing wage determination of the wages for that county is not occurring. Those wages are not the prevailing wage of the county. It's a broken system. If they were actually being determined correctly, we probably wouldn't have a problem here, but we just don't get those rates that accurately reflect the prevailing wage of that county. And our public jobs, city jobs, they represent a small portion of the work that's been done in the county. So I'm not sure that's that's a large amount of the construction projects that happen in most of our counties. I also have to say that this is really, for my member cities, it's really a rural issue. I honestly say that the cities in Jackson and St. Louis County area, this is not an issue for them. It's in our rural areas of the state that this presents a problem. I'll try to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Sheets, you have the barn, the equipment barn, and a couple hundred yards away you have the private equipment barn being built. I don't know. I guess the private equipment barn, that's a crew coming up from Texas, right?
Well, I can't answer that, but typically I can't answer that, but it just really sticks in the home.
Typically, it's probably someone from that county.
And as the commissioner from Cedar County mentioned, officials have also told me that they have problems getting local companies to bid on their projects. Whatever reason, they're not bidding, so that's a problem too.
Right. Do they give you some reasons why they?
Well, I hear reasons, and I can't. Sure. They suggest because of different wage rates, but I just can't answer that. They do have problems getting contractors to bid, and that really presents a problem. Because our city officials absolutely want to employ local workers because it helps their economy. That's their citizens, their constituents, and local bidding locally is always preferred with our elected officials. And I think this sometimes puts a roadblock in the place. And so we're not really talking about fixing the problem on why the reporting isn't occurring.
Right.
So, we have other alternatives we have to go to save taxpayer dollars.
Thanks, Mr. Sheets. Further questions of this witness, Senator Hall?
So I think you just touched on the issue that I always get frustrated with, and sometimes I get a little hot, and I apologize to the committee for that. That since the problem seems to be that contractors are refusing to report their hours, then why does this committee or this body not focus on getting those contractors to report their hours? Or why are your cities not doing more to get their contractors to report their hours?
Well, I understand your frustration, and I wish our city
and I don't mean to interrupt you. The answer is always like, well, let's just get rid of it, instead of having them do what they're supposed to do to fix the problem in the first place.
Well, to answer your question, I wish our city officials had the clout and the ability to have the contractors in
Or the
the
wherewithal.
county. Well, I don't know, they visit with them, they know the problems, but, you know.
Isn't the problem, a lot of them, that there's many, many contractors throughout the state that every single person that works for them is a 1099 employee, and they have no employees on record, so that they have no liability whatsoever. That is an absolute problem in the state. Would you agree that that happens?
I can't speak to that.
Yes. Further questions of Mr. Sheets? Thank you for your testimony. Remember to fill out your witness form. Further testimony in opposition to House Bill 104.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thanks for coming back in this evening to hear our testimony. My name is Ed Tweehouse. I am a owner of Tweehouse Excavating in Jefferson City, Missouri. We've family-owned business, been in business for 57 years, I think. I am also the president of the Associated General Contractors of Missouri. I'm sure y'all are familiar with us. I would simply like to say that repeal of prevailing wage is wrong. We're opposed to that, my company and the AGC of Missouri. It's not the solution to the problem you're looking at. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions of Mr. Tweehouse? Senator Wright.
I'm sorry, what did you say your company name was?
Tweehouse Excavating.
Okay, and do you do all your business here in the state of Missouri?
We do probably 85% of our business in Missouri. We also work Arkansas, Oklahoma, and a little bit in Iowa.
Okay, have you done projects in do those, all those states, do they have prevailing wage laws?
No, we're probably 50-50 on prevailing wage and non-prevailing wage.
And so I guess the concern I've been told is that without the presence of a prevailing wage law, you wouldn't be able to compete. The idea being that workers would come from these other states and compete for work in Missouri, is that correct?
That's correct.
So then, if that's the case, how are you able to compete and win work in these states that don't have a prevailing wage law?
We travel with the same crew. We base our bids on efficiency and being able to work better than others.
That's a great answer. That was the answer that I expected, and I think that a lot of times there's a misconception out there that the wage level that is set by the government is entirely and exclusively an indication of the value received by a government entity for a job that's performed. That's not necessarily the case, as you pointed out. What makes difference is the training that actually is supporting that particular wage level. So without the governor or the government getting involved, the ability of your workers to get a job done efficiently, the ability of your workers to get a job done correctly the first time, are ultimately the determinants of value. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. We are an open shop contractor and we do all of our own training.
Okay,
so that's
so regardless of if there's a prevailing wage law, you're going to be competing in Missouri in precisely the same manner that you're competing in these other states.
well. Let me clear up why I am here. I agree with your statement. The reason I'm here is not for my company. This is for my employees. Repeal of prevailing wage is going to drive down wages for people in the industry. Construction workers, craft workers, and currently it's hard to hire people into the construction business. And anything that we do that's going to drive down wages is going to hurt our industry. It's going to hurt the products that we build for you guys. It's going to hurt the availability of contractors to do your work.
So would you agree that the prevailing wage rates right now are an accurate reflection of the value that those workers are providing?
I'm sorry.
Would you agree that the prevailing wage rates as they stand right now are an accurate reflection of the value that is being received by the state for state projects?
Not in all areas. Not across the state. No.
Okay, so if that's not an accurate reflection, why would you support the law that's not accurately reflecting the value these workers are providing to the government?
Because in general, it holds wages higher for our employees. We're able to compete with other contractors who are paying the same thing that we're paying.
So you're saying that the government via the prevailing wage law should artificially inflate wages in order to, just to, basically as a different mechanism of minimum wage?
I absolutely did not say that the system is perfect. It's broke, but it's not. Eliminating it is not going to fix the problem.
Okay, this line of questioning did not go where I thought it was gonna go, so I appreciate your responses.
Okay.
Senator Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Tweethouse, I've been a big proponent, of funding highways and bridges. I don't know if you recognize my name or not,
Oh, absolutely.
but have you found yourself having to search out jobs in other states because of our lack of funding in the state of Missouri?
Oh, yes.
Would you like to say what percent that would be, maybe just taking a guess? How much are you doing 30% of your business outside of the state now, where maybe you only used to do 10% or 5% or 50%?
We're doing a full 30 to 40% of our work outside the state.
Would you prefer to work in the state of Missouri?
I'd much rather work in the state of Missouri.
That's all I got for you. Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. I thought I wrote down that you do 15% of your work out of the state. I heard that wrong. It's 40%?
No, it's risen to 30 to 40%, yes.
It's risen to 30 to 40%. And the list of states where you have done work other than Missouri, what was
Iowa,
that?
Oklahoma, Arkansas.
Iowa, Oklahoma, Arkansas. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Iowa has a prevailing wage law, correct? And I believe Oklahoma is not, and Arkansas is not. Right. Thank you. Further questions of the witness?
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to say that Iowa was also adjusted her fuel tax rate up another 10 cents.
There you go.
I would agree with that.
Thank you for your testimony. Further testimony in favor of House Bill 104.
Mr. Chairman, BJ Tanksley, Missouri Farm Bureau, here to testify in favor of House Bill 104. Missouri Farm Bureau has member adopted policy in favor of repeal of Missouri's prevailing wage law. And we appreciate what their representative is doing here. I appreciate the committee taking the time to consider it. Just thinking about some questions that may come, I can't speak to the construction industry, and I'm no expert on that, but I do think our members generally come, our 120,000 so family memberships come from generally rural Missouri. And those people also hold leadership positions, whether they be ambulance boards or different things like that. These are our tax dollars being spent in those areas, and we want to make sure that those tax dollars go as far as possible. We see areas that are poorer than other areas of the state that aren't able to do construction projects because of the fact that these laws are holding their wages higher than they normally would be, even for that area. So, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Yeah, I think sometimes when I hear this testimony against prevailing wage reform or repeal, well, don't you want higher wages? And it almost as if there were a printing press and the money comes from somewhere. And so if we pay more on a given project, in some cases, the county, the town won't be able to afford, the school district won't be able to afford the project just goes undone. Or more money gets extracted from the taxpayer's wallet. Ultimately, it might end up in the wage of the worker in someone else's wallet. It's the reason I recommend to everyone who has ever talked to me for more than about 5 minutes, the book Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. But thank you for your testimony. Further questions of this witness? Seeing none, remember your witness form. Thank you. For further testimony in opposition to House Bill 104.
Mr. Chairman, Senators, my name is David Claridge. I'm here testifying on behalf of the Mechanical Contractors Association of Kansas City and the Eastern District in opposition to House Bill 104.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions of Mr. Claridge? Thank you. And remember your witness form. Further testimony in favor of House Bill 104. Further testimony in opposition to House Bill 104.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm going to submit 2 statements. I think both of them have already provided written statements. I'm Rodney Gray. I'm here on behalf of 2 Kansas City entities of the Heavy Constructors Association of Greater Kansas City and J.E. Dunn. They both oppose a full
abolition of the prevailing wage in the state of Missouri. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Gray? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further testimony in opposition to House Bill 104.
Good afternoon, evening, I think. My name is Mark Dalton. I am here on behalf of the St. Louis Kansas City Carpenters Regional Council, speaking in opposition to the bill. Many other people have spoken before me. I'm just here to represent our nearly 1,500 contractors that we represent, along with our 22,000 members. A lot of the things that you've heard about paying, inflated wages and St. Louis wages all over the state, we have, as far as our organization, we have 16 different wage scales across the state that are reflective of the areas that those wage packages are bargained in. We've got workers in parts of the state that make, nearly $20 an hour less than they do in St. Louis. So we believe that, us, along with a lot of other trades, are trying to do the right thing, and our wage rates are negotiated because those are the contractors that do the work in that area, whether it's prevailing wage or non-prevailing wage. So they pay a decent wage, they make a decent wage, and are able to, with that money, train their workers to give them a good safety training, good skills training. I've been a carpenter for about 19 years now, working in the field. I have worked in Missouri, I've worked in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Ohio, Tennessee, a lot of places like that. Mainly that work was retirement centers and some hotels. And the reason we did that work, they were all for, most of that work was for one company that owned all those. And when they were building the hotels, retirement centers across the country, when the company that I worked for at the time, we did 2 hotels in St. Louis for them, and the level of productivity and skill was far superior than what they got in other states. So they paid us to travel because they had a hard time finding the skilled labor they needed in those other states. We experienced that firsthand. When we go to some of these other states, we would have to hire a certain amount of people from that state, from that area, a ratio as far as the workers that we traveled into the area with, and we would run through them like wildfire. I mean, they would show up with, a hammer in their pocket. They'd be putting nails in their front pocket. It was just, because they were just people off the street. So worked for many companies that or owners of these buildings that saw the quality, which I think is reflective of the higher standard that we hold. But I'll answer any questions. I'm just kind of here as us too. So.
Thank you for your testimony. Senator Levin.
Well, you get to win the bonus round, okay?
Okay.
I didn't.
As long as Hummel's not too rough on me.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be as tough as he is. Tell me again who you represent.
I'm with the St. Louis Kansas City Carpenters Regional Council.
Okay, let me ask you. Have you ever heard the term target money?
Yes.
Would you explain to me what target money is?
Well, target money, for one, cannot be used on a prevailing wage job. But there is a fund that can be used to help out some of our contractors if there is, for one reason or another, it's not, sometimes the target money is used to start up a company. It's used for various different things. If there's a contractor that, or one of our, worker that wants to start up their own company, they can come to, the organization for a loan. So it's a very low interest loan for them to buy equipment they need to get started, to get a company off the ground, and then they can pay that back at a low rate, helps them get off their off the ground and up and running. There are other reasons to, target money is used for contractors to obtain a job. If they don't think they can, for whatever reason, get that job at whatever they are, they will ask for.
I'm not sure I understand.
I appreciate you telling me.
Sure. That's what I do.
Yep, well, I like that, because that's exactly what a lot of non-union contractors don't like, is that target money.
Well,
Because it makes an unfair bidding practice lots of times.
Well, it has nothing to do with prevailing wage, so that money cannot be used on any prevailing wage, they just make a job.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Not a
I
problem.
appreciate it.
Senator Adams.
To follow up on target money, is when you say they're not used on prevailing wage jobs, is that a state law? Or is that a?
I think it's federal. I don't know if it's state or federal, that would be for our lawyer, but I just know we cannot use we cannot as an organization pitch in money to help a contractor on a job that has, prevailing wage, state, local, federal money in it.
But you're unsure if that's a law on the books somewhere, or if that's just.
No, it's a law on the books. I just don't know if it's state or federal.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Senator Hummel.
I have a question about a specific sticker that was left in my office dealing with electrical contractors. Maybe we can answer that offline.
Sure thing. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, we can talk about that later.
There goes
Senator Lively.
I'm just curious if there's any other union representatives here that's wanting to come up and pose this bill. So I thought maybe I might be able to get a little better description of target money maybe. If not, that's okay. You don't have to.
No, and to clarify, I mean, I know you're calling it target money because that's how I know some people call it. We call it a market recovery fund.
I didn't make that up.
No, sure, and that's why I know what you're saying.
I mean, I'm pretty fast. And you seem to know what it was, so.
Well, I've had to defend it quite a bit, I understand. No, it's a market recovery fund, and like I say, the majority of that fund is to help companies, people that want to start companies and become small business owners.
Yeah, well, it's a little more than that, but, you've been super nice, so I'm just gonna let you off the hook. And I'll tell you the reason why. That's only me letting you off the hook so far. It's just somebody else may have something. Because I'm known around here as being a really nice guy. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senator after Senator.
I was familiar with these programs, but I wasn't ever thinking along these lines until Senator Lively mentioned it, so this is his fault. But that being said, if the law that prohibits these target dollars from being used on a prevailing wage project, that's federal law. That would only apply to federal prevailing wage projects, correct?
If it is, that's why I'm saying I'm not sure if it's federal or state, but I know we cannot, state or federal, we cannot throw any market recovery money at a job that has any of that money in it.
But am I reading that right? If it is, and I'm going to have to look, and I don't think that anyone on the knows or anyone in the audience knows. But if it is a federal regulation, then that would not apply to state level prevailing wage projects, which does create a vulnerability.
I'm not aware, I'm a carpenter. If you want help setting a cabinet, I can do that. And I can definitely get with our attorney and find out what the actual statute is.
And you are a nice guy. Thank you.
Yeah, Mark, I'm not familiar with this. Define for me the market recovery fund.
We've got a fund that, there are, pennies per hour that members pitch into. So it's basically a fund, like I said, it's used for startup companies. It's used if, for any reason, if a company needs equipment, materials, things like that, they can get, low interest loans from us. So it's basically money that we lend out to them at a low interest. It helps them keep things going, keep their workers employed. So the members that we represent keep working. The businesses stay on their feet through hard times. And, it's just a win-win.
Okay, thank you. Further questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Remember to fill out your witness form.
Thank you.
And I will just, I think Mark was the last one, but one more call. Any other witnesses in favor of House Bill 104? Any other witnesses in opposition to House Bill 104? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you earlier. Thanks.
Richard Craig is the United Steelworkers and Missouri FLC also. Last Missouri FLC is one on record. So go ahead and thank Target for us.
Any questions for this witness?
Now, don't get that close to that chair, because I could ignore
It's not reviewed, I gotta say.
All right, move on. All right,
I'm good.
Thank you. Further questions? No. Any other testimony in opposition to House Bill 104? Representative, would you like to make any concluding
I
remarks?
would like to make a couple of comments. I hear the opposition talking about not qualified workers.
Can you talk on the microphone, please?
Yeah, I have a statement. I've heard the opposition talk about us country boys not being qualified workers. I've even heard us call farmhands. Guys, I'm a carpenter. This guy right here, Mick, can probably strap on nail bags and I can work, and I can still work. But here's the difference between the country boys that carpenter and do what we call construction work. We don't work by the hour. We're farmhands, and if you want to, we haul hay by the bale. We do things by the acre, we contract, we sheetrock, we do it by the foot, we do it by shingle by the square. We make more money per hour than the guys getting paid per hour. We just do not want to report wages. That's the reason this is here. We don't want to tell them we're making $80 or $100 an hour, but we'll do the job quicker and make the state more money. And our obligation, remember, is to spend the taxpayers' dollars wiser. And we can come up with the money to help the seniors that you all are handling here, because we can eliminate and almost take the money from the Department of Labor if we can pass this, and we can use that for helping our elderly and our schools. Thank you all for listening to this bill. I hope you'll move it through, and I hope you'll pass it. And I hope it'll be a greater day for Missouri when we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And this concludes the hearing on House Bill 104. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
We'll move. Second.
Moved by Senator Eigel, seconded by Senator Leibler. The first bill that we will take up is House Bill 399 and 715. This was the combined time-limited demand and reservation of rights bill that Representative DeGroot presented, I believe, correct, except for Greg.
Yeah, the numbers wrong.
I'm sorry, did I have the number?
339 and 714.
I'm sorry, 339 and 714. I thought that's what I said. No, I think that's what I said. So 339 and 714. And Senator Brown has I would entertain a motion to take up House Bill 339 and 714.
So moved.
Moved by Leibler, seconded by Eigel. And Senator Brown has left a substitute, and it has been distributed. I think it was in our packets prior to the hearing. And what Senator Brown proposes to do in the substitute is to add his bill that wasn't heard in this committee, but I believe we've all heard of, pertaining to the statute of limitations on veterinary medical malpractice claims. I'd move adoption of the Senate committee substitute. Any discussion? All those voice vote. All those in favor of adopting the substitute say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No. Just kidding.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. You have adopted the Senate committee substitute. Jim, do I need to separate that motion to roll this into?
No, it already is a Senate committee. I'm good to go. Just need to do pass.
Motion to do pass. Okay, I would entertain a motion to do pass the Senate Committee substitute for House Bills 339 and 714.
So moved.
Moved and seconded by Senator Lively, Senator Eigel. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Onder.
Aye.
Senator Lightfoot. Aye. Senator Brown. Elected the chair. Senator Eigel. Aye. Senator Hummel.
No.
Senator Rizzo. No. Senator Watson.
By a vote of 5-2, you have voted the substitute to pass. I would entertain a motion to take up House Committee Bill 3. That was the circuit breaker bill presented this afternoon by Representative Alford.
So moved.
Moved by Senator Lively, seconded by Senator Eigel. And there is no substitute. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, call the roll. I'm sorry. I would move that House Committee Bill 3 do pass, be voted do pass. Moved by Onder, seconded by Senator Lively. Any discussion? Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Onder.
Aye.
Pardon me, Senator Lightfoot. Aye. Senator Brown. Elected the chair is an aye. Senator Eigel. Aye. Senator Hummel. No. Senator Rizzo. No. Senator Watson. Aye. 5-2.
By a vote of 5-2, you have voted House Committee Bill 3 do pass. And now I would entertain a motion I would entertain a motion to take up House Bill 104, Representative Love's bill on the prevailing wage. This of course was just heard today, but it's been heard before and voted out do pass from this committee. Moved by Senator Lively, seconded by Senator Eigel. All those in favor of taking up this bill say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I would move we do pass House Bill 104. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Lively. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Onder.
Aye.
Senator Lively. Aye. Senator Brown. Aye. Senator Eigel. Aye. Senator Hummel. Nope. Senator Rizzo. No. Senator Watson.
Aye. 5-2. By a vote of 5-2, you have voted do pass House Bill 104. And I would move that we bring Senate Bill 369, Senator Wallingford's bill pertaining to Attorney General residency before this committee. We heard this a few weeks ago. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Senator Hummel.
I just briefly want to point this out again, that the reason that he has to live here is to establish venue so that they can use this court system here as opposed to where he lives. This is a bad idea.
Further discussion.
I'll just briefly add to that. It's if we could just do an amendment to make it to where we write that they all start here where they're supposed to start to establish venue. I don't care if he lives in Columbia or wherever, honestly, as long as the cases start here in Jefferson City as they always have. Because he's exactly right. That's why the Attorney General has to live here, is because to establish venue and all that type of stuff. So if we could just at some point, maybe on the floor, figure out some sort of an amendment to say that we to establish venue, all court cases, blah, 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 that'd be fine with me. It doesn't matter to me where it's.
Yeah, it sounds like if that is the case, that is something that'll need to be done either in a substitute or as an amendment on the floor. So we can work on it.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lively.
You know, really all you gotta have is a process agent. We serve papers.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Really all you gotta have is a process agent to be served papers. It's just like, you know, when we owned the trucking company, we had process agents in every state to be served.
I think you're obviously right on a personal level, but I think if you're going to file something against the state, right, is when.
I mean, that's possible. You can be correct on that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I would suspect though that can be done here.
Yeah.
But
it's an easy fix.
Yeah, we'll see what's happening.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure why the Attorney General couldn't be served as place of business.
But I think you probably could, but I think you probably, what I'm
It
saying.
makes it
probably
clearer,
put in
it makes it
statute.
clearer if the residency and the place of business.
You want to move into
Yeah,
your
I don't care where he lives.
Yeah, he wants to move into
I'm
your
just telling you the
district.
practical aspect of this is that this is to establish venue for all the court cases in the state of Missouri. That's why this has to stay the way it is. And we've had 2 or 3 weeks now that we could have fixed this with a committee sub. And I know the senator knew that. And
And I know you brought it up. And,
yeah, I agree. I don't care where the guy lives.
I understand. Further discussion. I would entertain a motion to, do we have a motion to do pass already? No, I would entertain a motion to do pass. Moved by Senator Lively, and I will second it by Senator Eigel. Further discussion. Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Unger.
Aye.
Senator Lively.
Aye.
Senator Brown is an aye. Senator Eichel.
Aye.
Senator Hummel.
No.
Senator Rizzo. No. Senator Watson. 5-2.
By a vote of 5-2, you have do passed Senate Bill 396. I would entertain a motion to do adjourn.
Okay.
Moved and second, all in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say no. Good to have it.